So we are given a zero-index 2D integer matrix grid of size n times n, with values in the range 1 to n to the power of 2. Each integer appears exactly once except for a, which appears twice, and b, which is missing. The task is to find the repeating and missing numbers a and b, and we were supposed to return a zero-index integer array answer of size 2, where the first element is a and the second element is b. So in the example, we're given the grid has two arrays in it. And the first array consists of 1 and 3, and the second array consists of 2 and 2. Now, 2 obviously repeats itself because there are two 2's in the grid. So a would be equal to 2, and the element that is missing is 4. So b is equal to 4, 2 and 4. There we go. So our first task is to find a, because that's what we need to append to output first. So we can do that by creating an array scene, which will hold the values that we see, and then output for future use. And we can iterate over each list, each array in the grid. We can iterate over each item in the array. And if item is not in scene, then we will append the item to scene. And if it isn't seen, then we know it's a duplicate, so we can just add it to output. Now that we have the repeating element out of the way, we can move on to the missing element. And we can do that by doing for I in range of 1, and then the length of the grid raised to the power of the length of the grid plus 1, so we can include the last element of the grid. And we will simply check to see whether if I is not in scene, then we know that it's a missing value. So we append it to output. And then all we have to do is return output, and we're good, I think. This is definitely not the best time complexity, because we iterate over the list twice, group array twice, but it does work. So what we did here is we first iterated over each array in grid, and then we iterated over each element in the array. We said if the element is not in scene, then we'll add it to scene. So 1 is not in scene, 3 is not in scene, 2 is not in scene, but the second 2 is in scene. So we added that to output. And then we moved on. We did for I in range from 1 to the length of the grid times the length of the grid, so 1 to 4. If I is not in scene, then we append it to output. So if 1 is not in scene, we add it, and 1 is in scene. If 2 is not in scene, then we add it, but 2 is also in scene. 3 is in scene, but 4 is not in scene. So we added it to output, and then we returned output.